You took part in the panel discussion on how to make yourself the best candidate possible for, city law firms today, Sarah. So thanks for talking to us today. What would be your key advice for tailoring your applications to specifically a commercial law firm of a high end such as yours?
I think the word you mentioned there about tailoring is really key. So even though, as you kind of rotate around your kind of student campuses and things, there may be this kind of gospel that, lots of law firms are the same, it'll be the same type of experience no matter where you go. It's actually not correct, and actually there will be great differences between the types of experiences that you can have at all those different types of firms. So it really is this process that you're entering is about kind of finding the right firm for you, and really having a real good understanding of what makes that firm sort of tick, why it would be right for you. So, tailoring is all about, doing your research, putting the work in to understand. It's not just about the practice areas that the firm does and the work that it does, although that's extremely important. You need to have a sense of that, and whether that's something that you can be very passionate and motivated and interested and engaged in. You also need to do a bit of research on the role that you'll be playing. So the more that you understand about what being a trainee is going to be like, and particularly a trainee maybe at that firm, the more that you can pitch yourself, as it were, to the firm that you're specifically interested in. And that could be in how you, for example, tailor the way that you talk about, for example, your work experience. So you could have done work experience as a range of different types of places, traditional student jobs, which are never to be kind of underestimated as to what they can give you and how they can develop you. And all of that stuff is really relevant and valid. It's about kind of tailoring your experiences so that you talk about them in a way that makes sense to the firm that you're applying to. So, for example, if you're applying to a firm such as ours, where we have a small intake, think about the type of work experience that you've done, where you've worked with maybe a small team of people, and think about whether that type of situation and that setup was good for you and what you enjoyed about it. Did you feel that setup allowed you to flourish? Did you feel that it allowed you to stand out in the right way? Did you feel that you got the level of exposure to the work that you were doing? It's all those kinds of things. So tailoring can work on lots of different levels in lots of different sections of your form. So kind of pay a bit of attention to trying to tailor all the different sections to kind of what that firm is looking for. All firms will have on their websites or in their recruitment literature a list of what they are looking for. Very often the pages distinctly titled that. So use that as your kind of starting document, as it were, or starting piece of information. And then what you should be doing through the process of completing your form is making sure that you've got something that you can put against all of those points. You've got something that you can talk about, that perhaps you've been involved in, or you can demonstrate, that shows you've got all those things, because the firm is going to be trying to match you to what they can offer and what they're looking for. So they're looking for people who are all of those things and hopefully more.
As you just touched on, not all experiences need to be directly related to law to be transferable, as long as the candidate presents those skills that they learned in the correct way and demonstrates proof of actually achieving something. But how crucial is direct, straight up legal work experience when you're assessing applications?
I think, for me personally, I think it depends on the stage at which somebody is at and, what stage they're at in terms of when they're applying. So, for example, if you're somebody who's perhaps already on the LPC or maybe even an LPC graduate, I think most firms would find it quite odd if by that point you didn't really have any, for example, legal experience to speak of. It wouldn't necessarily matter what context that legal experience was in, but something, because you've got to imagine as a recruiter, all that we know about you is just what's on the paper in front of us. So we don't really know you particularly. So we make judgments based on kind of what we see in front of us. And somebody who's in a position of having got to that stage, which is quite an advanced stage, and not having done maybe a bit of legal work experience, it throws up a question in the recruiter's mind: is this person perhaps as interested in this career as they need to be? Are they on the ball enough, as it were, to know that they should be kind of doing these things, you know, as soon as they're able? We understand how difficult it is sometimes to get these types of experiences, but it doesn't always have to be an experience in a big city firm. You know, a high street firm doing something can be just as valid and relevant, because, you know, what you get from the experience is a lot down to what you can observe, what you think about it. You know, go away and reflect on it after you've done it. You know, what did I really learn about that? What did I see? What conclusions can I draw from that? How can I use that experience, for example, in my applications? So I think we are, you know, we realise that not everybody's going to be able necessarily to have the golden kind of work experience in that legal context, but I think depending on the stage at which you're applying, I think we want to see something on there in whatever form that might be. But that's not to underestimate the value of other types of work experience. So often they can be just as important, because we're trying to think about who it is that we're going to be serving as lawyers, and maybe it would be actually very good to get insight into a business that you might be serving as a lawyer in the future, because there is no substitute for really understanding a business from the inside out, so that you again will sort of tailor your advice to particularly what that client's concerns are, and you kind of knowing what's keeping those business people awake at night and knowing what's top of their priority list. And a lot of the time you can only get that maybe from actually being inside it. So there's value in both types of work experience, but as I say, if you're applying kind of at that later stage, we probably would expect to see something.
That's some really balanced insight, Sarah Warnes. Thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you.